So Premiere has just rebranded, relaunched, everything, how you color correct and color grade in that software. So they have launched color mode. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at what it looks like. I'll be going over the brand new color workspace and now how you color correct and grade in Premiere. And this is not just about adding a couple of color grading circles. This is much more than that, and there is so much more depth into it. And I'm actually genuinely excited for Premiere to finally be addressing color in a way that has potential to actually make sense. But right now, if you want to try it out, you can download Premiere Beta and download version 26.3.0. So after you've imported your footage, there is a brand new tab called Color. And look at what happens. This is a complete redesign of the workspace. And what I really like from here is that we now get color wheels. And there is a lot more to these color wheels, but let's go step by step, shall we? If you click on the drop-down arrow, you're able to see that there are a few versions of ways that you can set up this color workspace. So you have Essentials, which is here. We have Vertical if you're editing vertical video. And we have Analysis, which sort of brings these clips at the bottom. And if you've edited in Resolve before, this might be a little bit more familiar to you. But let's go back to Essentials and work from here. One thing too that I enjoy about Premiere is the ability of customize and adjust all of these different windows, and you can move them wherever you want, which is something you cannot do in Resolve for the most part. So on the right, you have all of the clips that are already in your sequence. And what's cool is that you're able to see all of them right here. If I had more clips, I'll be able to see that populate with all of those clips. You're able to adjust the size of these clips as well. And you can also toggle the name of the individual clips. One cool thing too is that you can select multiple clips here on this right-hand side holding Shift if you wanted to apply the same color correction to another clip. On the program monitor, we have a couple of things. You can switch to clip playback, which will allow you to have playback only of that individual clip. And if I select this clip over here, this clip playback plays only the individual clip. If I switch to sequence playback, then this playback over here will shift from one clip to the next. And this is very, very useful to have. The way you're going to fundamentally edit and color grade now, it's going to be rethink. We have here at the bottom two sort of levels. You can edit your clip at the clip level or at the sequence level. Let's start with the clip level. There are a couple of things that you can add from here: an adjustment, a style, and a LUT. The first one will be an adjustment. You can adjust the contrast, adjust your exposure, temperature, balance, saturation. A key thing to note is that when you hover over each of these individual tools, it'll tell you whether you have two ways of controlling that feature. For example, if you have contrast, you can control that vertically and horizontally. So if I were to go up, I can control that strength of that contrast. And if I go left and right, I'm able to control the pivot of that contrast. And you might have noticed too, just now, what happens when I go and apply one of these corrections is that an HUD indicator pops up to allow you to quickly visualize what you're working on. The key thing here is that this HUD only comes on whenever you're affecting a color correction tool. And the corresponding HUD is going to pop up whenever you're adjusting one of these tools. So if I go to temperature here, I can go and click once, and I can move my mouse left, right, up, or down to adjust that color. Before we continue though, I'm actually going to change this to a proper color space so you're able to better see what I'm doing. One way of doing it is by clicking the plus button and adding a clip LUT. From here, I'll select the Sony Gamut LUT, and here you can select your color space. I'll leave it at Rec 709. You can also select the intensity of that LUT here. We'll leave it as that. So while I'm editing this, one cool thing you can do here too is that you can reorder, almost like when you added layers in Premiere, you can reorder these color adjustments and things that you've added to your clip. So I can move this LUT here, to the beginning of my clip to be the first thing that happens to that clip. Now that I have the LUT added, I can go to adjust. Now I can perform some color correction. The really cool thing about this that I enjoy is that the controls are not as sensitive. So that means that you can apply very subtle and very minute adjustments to your clip and to each individual tool here, which makes you able to fine-tune that color or that adjustment that you're trying to make. You can also target specific parts of your image, like your shadows or your highlights. And as soon as you hover over your shadows, you'll be able to see which parts of the image are going to be your shadows that you're going to be working on. Highlights will be those parts. So I can click on shadows, for example, and I can go and let's say if I wanna make those shadows a little cooler, I can do that. And you can see how it's taking place, and you can see how the HUD is moving, and you have this scope here that really shows you what you're doing. You're able to mute this entire section over here, color and contrast, by clicking on this mute and unmute button to see the effects that you've applied. You have now your hue and saturation shift, your hue and hue shift, and also your hue and luma shift, all here in circle modes. So what you can do, you can go and select different types of colors. Again, if you hover over these colors, you're able to see which parts of this clip are going to be affected. You can click on the eyedropper and also sample a specific color. Let's try that orange, for example, and I can go and click on luma and hue and drag my mouse and maybe make that orange a little bit brighter. So you can also do this to see what's the before and after of that correction that you've applied. I'm really enjoying this so far. I feel that I'm going to be able to just have a lot more fun color grading in Premiere. Before I continue though, there is one thing that I've had an issue with Premiere's color management in general, and I've made a couple of videos about it. Link in the description over here if you haven't seen those, but it's in regards to Premiere's ACES CCT wide gamut color space, which I feel is still not fully there. I still don't know how this works in terms of color space management and color space workflow, of whether you need to be converting your log clip to a wide working color space and then apply your creative or grading LUT. So I'm still not sure how that's gonna work, but for now, I'm just gonna show you all the fun stuff that we have available to play with these color correction tools. Over here, you have detail and sharpness. You can adjust that, which is really fun. Next, let's go and add a style. This is brand new as well. Premiere here has a bunch of different presets that you can start and work with. You can apply them if you like. But one thing that happens is that this is not just an individual preset that just get slapped on into your clip. What happens is that this gets added. You're able to see specifically what sort of things were edited and how that style was created. And you're able to go and start from here, for example. And if you wanted to work on that strength of the film color or the contrast, you're able to go and adjust all of that individually. So you do get presets, but you're able to go in and fine tune it according to your specific look that you like. So let's delete that for now. Add a clip style or go to style modules. You can add an additional module for color and contrast. Think of it as, for example, adding in another adjustment layer with just color and contrast, for example. You can have this be a color shift, contrast kit, detail, or film color or flare. So these are both brand new. Let's go to film color. What I can do here as well is rename and say this is a film color style adjustment from the film or from the adjustment module. I can go and select one of these presets that the Premiere has, have the print and play with this as a starting point. And then I'm able to go in and adjust that strength of that filter, that film filter. And you can see right away that you're able to extract so much more from your clips using all of these tools right now. And Like it's pretty cool. You can go and adjust any of these things as well if you wanted to further tweak that film color. You can add another style. From the style module, you can go and add flare, and I'll rename it and go flare. And this is how you can keep your color correction and color grading workflow organized as well by renaming each of these additional modules or styles. You can go to flare and click on it and see what this does to the clip. Before and after, I think that's a little bit too heavy, so I can just reset that. But yeah, you get the idea. One cool thing here is that you're able to see from this window on the right, which clips have been graded and which ones have not. So there is this thing over here that says graded, and there's an icon that shows up here to tell you that that clip has been graded. So you notice that under your effect controls that a new color effect has been applied to your clip. You can go and copy that. And if you wanted to apply that same grade to different clips, you can select them all over here on the right by holding the Shift button and pasting them on your clip. And then now you'll see that the exact grade and sequence would be applied to the other clips as well. So it's a very visual way of seeing which clips have been graded and which ones have not. Let me show you. When you go to color analysis, you're able to view these clips in order as well if you wanted a different view of how you wanted to color grade each clip. So you get all your video scopes here, but when you also go and want to adjust an individual control here, they'll still pop up on this side as well. Let's go back to essentials. One more thing that I want to touch upon here is that you know how back then in Premiere, or even right now in the regular full version of Premiere, if you wanted to apply a creative LUT to your entire sequence, you would go and add an adjustment layer and add that LUT there. So now this has been simplified by just going here directly in sequence. So you can go and add a LUT, for example, add further adjustments that will apply along your entire sequence, add a style, or your creative LUT. So I'll add a creative LUT, and then let's just use one of these ones that Premiere has, some of these default ones that are not that great, but just for illustration purposes. Let's see, let's adjust that strength a little bit. Now this LUT is going to apply to your entire sequence, and you're still able to go to each individual clip, add your individual adjustments, and also go to sequence here and adjust whatever you have added here to see how those tools or that LUT or those modifiers that you have added to at sequence level, what they would look like at the clip level. This is a substantial improvement to the way you color correct and color grade in Premiere. And although I do think they have to tweak a little some things here and there, I find that there's a lot of potential for you to really get in the weeds in this with this system. And it also seems very intuitive and also beginner friendly for people who are just starting out or people who want to do light color grades and corrections to the clips without feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, let me know what are your thoughts on this new color mode in Premiere. Do you think it's good, or if they've just completely missed the color grading boat already? Let me know, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoyed this video. And if you're still around, here are a couple more videos you could watch next, and I'll see you there.